So I'm going to give the floor. You know, we have an arts commission, fairly recently established arts commission, and we're lucky enough to have our chair and our vice chair, Alyssa Ochoa and Fisher Dudarian, come to do the introduction of our poet laureate, Danielle Hansen. So you have the floor.
Very good. Well, good evening, Council. As Mayor Stevens said, my name is Fisher Dudarian. Unfortunately, I'm not Danielle Hansen. We'll get to her in just a moment. But I'm honored to join you tonight as the Vice Chair of the Arts Commission, alongside our Chair, Commissioner Ochoa, to help recognize National Poetry Month, which starts today, actually, and to introduce Costa Mesa's Poet Laureate program. When the city adopted its art and culture master plan back in March 2021, one of the goals was to live up to our reputation as the city of the arts. Now, that's not simply about placing art on walls or on stages, but making the arts a meaningful part of our everyday civic life. The Poet Laureate program is one of the ways that we are doing that. It brings poetry, something that's often thought of as personal or quiet, into public spaces and into public conversations. And the broader dialogue that shapes the city, where we talk in terms of policy and ordinances, of budgets and tax revenue, infrastructure and growth, and so on, poetry offers a different kind of voice. It doesn't rush to persuade or to instruct. It reflects, it reveals, it invites us to pause, to feel, and to think more deeply. That's what this month celebrates, and that's what this program is meant to sustain. A city that makes room for poetry, of all things, is a city that cares not just about what it builds, but about how it lives. And with that, I'll turn it over to Commissioner Ochoa to introduce the person who will carry that voice forward as our first Costa Mesa Poet Laureate. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Dudarian, and thank you, PAX Commissioner Chair Kelly Brown and Professor Osborne at Chapman University, and our art specialist, Ms. Gardner, for their dedication to this inaugural program. April is National Poetry Month, and it was launched by the Academy of the American Poets in 1996 to celebrate the vital role poetry plays in our culture. I know personally, poetry can hold and uplift. It's been a steady companion through many chapters of my life. My friends and I like to joke that all roads lead back to Mary Oliver, but perhaps now we can say they lead to Danielle Hansen. It's my great honor to introduce Costa Mesa's first Poet Laureate, Danielle Hansen. Danielle has a rare gift for capturing beauty, wonder, and transformation with striking precision. She holds an MFA in Creative Studies with a focus on poetry and a master's in mathematics from Arizona State University, a fascinating combination of arts and analytics that I'm excited to learn more about. She is the author of several award-winning books, including Fraying Edge of Sky, Ambushing Water, and she's the editor of Objects in the Mirror. Her latest poetry collection, The Night Is What It Eats, was selected as the winner of Elixir Press's 24th Annual Poetry Award. Danielle has made a wide-ranging contribution to the literary arts community. She's been a writer in residence for Georgia Writers, served as a poetry editor for both Doubleback Books and Hayden Ferry Review, and has led workshops in high schools and public libraries throughout the nation. Her commitment to outreach and engagement will no doubt be a gift to our city. She currently teaches poetry at UC Irvine. It's my great pleasure to warmly welcome Costa Mesa's first Poet Laureate, Danielle Hansen.
Thank you so much for the wonderful introduction to the program and to me. I think anything I do now is a letdown, right? But thank you so much for that. It is such an honor to be here tonight and to be serving as Poet Laureate of Costa Mesa, the city of the arts. I look forward to getting poetry into the public spaces and to where the people are. Poetry has the ability to connect people, to make them feel heard and seen, to promote change, to improve the day that you're having, and to create empathy and understanding. And the Poet Laureate position is such a special position because it goes in between the individual creator, the individual observer, and where society is. So it's a combination of this public and private space. We're going to have a lot of great programs So watch the space for that, but definitely we're going to get some workshops. I hope to see everyone in here at a workshop. You don't need to be a writer. We're going to have some fun. Think of it like as a try me class. We're going to be at some of the festivals and getting poetry out to where you are already. So watch the space and come out and see us. Since this is a public space of Costa Mesa, I'd like to bring a poem to us here today. The occasion of this is I rode down on the Back Bay, and it's been foggy a lot lately. We've had a lot of canceled practices. Foggy morning hike. There are spiders of the air and spiders of the ground, racket and basket of web lit with dew. The sun is hung over from drinking too much of air and dim and indistinct just up over the hill. A passing jogger tells a myth about a coyote, and every turned corner is now adventure. But of course the hellhound is gone, crouched low under sagebrush, sunk into ground like that same dew caught by spider. A vireo cocks his head at me. What am I doing here? I question whether I'm still wild enough for this morning. Rowing was of course canceled, but I saw a man in a canoe become smaller into the ocean. As the world recedes, I feel myself grow larger until I am all that is left in this world. Thank you.
Our next presentation is from the City of Costa Mesa's Poet Laureate in celebration of National Poetry Month. Danielle Hansen, welcome.
Thank you. Fisher, did you have some things to say about National Poetry Month? You had a great presentation the other day, or I'll just dive in either way.
Would you like me to say
I
something?
would love that.
Okay. Well, we introduced, Chair Ochoa and myself introduced Danielle on Tuesday evening here in the chambers for the city council meeting. And I opened it with just a little quick overview about poetry and National Poetry Month. So I'll save you the bits about Good Evening Council and all that, and just launch into it if you'll give me a minute to do this. When the city adopted its art and culture master plan in March 2021, one of its goals was to live up to our reputation as the city of the arts. That's not simply about placing art on walls or on stages, but making the arts a meaningful part of our everyday civic life. The Poet Laureate program is one of the ways we do that. It brings poetry, something often seen as quiet and personal, into public spaces and public conversations. In the broader dialogue that shapes the city, where we talk in terms of policy and ordinances, budgets and tax revenue, infrastructure and growth, poetry offers a different kind of voice. It doesn't rush to persuade or instruct. It reflects, it reveals, it invites us to pause, to feel, and to think more deeply. That's what this month celebrates, and that's what this program, the Poet Laureate program, is meant to sustain. A city that makes room for poetry is a city that cares not just about what it builds, but how it lives. I'll give it back to you, Danielle.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to start with a poem, and then I have another little something. Coyote. The crows throw their caws from the eucalyptus down to the shape of a coyote in brush. The shadow stands, shakes the calls off onto rocky dust. It only wants to be silent. Let air shape around its fur like a tongue on a pup. It stands and looks at us, quiet eyes and curious. It turns and drifts downhill. Okay, so it's National Poetry Month, so I'd love to tell you where you can go find poetry. I'm going to share 5 resources with you. The first 3 are online print poems a day. Poems.com, which is through George Mason University. They have something called Poetry Daily. Poem a Day, which is by the Academy of American Poets, who is behind National Poetry Month. And then versedaily.org, which is curated, all of these are curated by well-read, well-known poets. That one's a little more private, but all of them take a poem every day that has come out in some other print or online format and reserves it to you. So you get a good variety. Once you find poets that you like from these kinds of websites, then you can go to the library and request the book. So then you can read a little bit more. You can also search for that poet's name, and then I would suggest putting poem afterwards and get some of their other online poems. And then you can always give or request books of poetry as gifts. They're really cheap, under $20, great gifts for people. The other two resources I want to give you, The Slowdown, which is a podcast. It used to be curated by our U.S. Poet Laureate. It kind of hands down from esteemed poet to esteemed poet. But it's less than 10 minutes every day. They read one poem and then discuss it a little bit, so a little bit of context with the poem. And the last one I want to share is the University of Arizona has just taken all their reading and both their video and their audio and their print archives and put them online at a website called VOCA. So you can go and listen to full readings by a number of very well-known poets. All right, thank you very much.